Welcome to Mission 919, my channel devoted to information and narratives of African achievement, well-being, and prosperity. And today, I want to talk about the Sokoto Caliphate. The Sokoto Caliphate, named for the city of Sokoto in northwestern Nigeria, was founded in present-day Nigeria, parts of Burkina Faso, and Cameroon in 1803. It was led by a man named Shehu Usman Fodio, who was a scholar and leader and general, and eventually king, a sultan, although he didn't take that title. And he led a movement that included Fula, nomad or pastoralists, and Hausa peasants and others, Yoruba Muslims, against the kings of the Hausa city-states, cities like Kano and Katsina and Gobir and so forth. In fact, he was from Gobir, and the Sarkin, or king of Gobir, Yumfa, viewed him as a threat, tried to assassinate him, and that began the sort of the revolutionary military phase of his movement. He championed lowering or eliminating the taxes that Hausa peasants labored under that were considered to be onerous. He wanted to release political prisoners, and he was I guess you could say, a purist, fundamentalist. I don't know if that's quite the right word, but he was a purist in Islam, and he railed against the non-Islamic practices that were widespread in the Hausa city states and beyond. So anyway, he managed to lead a revolutionary movement that overthrew the kings of the Hausa city states and beyond, and formed the Sokoto Caliphate in 1808. He led the caliphate for 7 years, and then he retired from direct leadership to continue his scholarship. He wrote manuscripts on history, religion, as well as poetry. Now his brother was also part of the movement, and his brother and his son divided the rulership after the Shehu retired, and his son eventually became the sole, or became the sultan until the mid 1830s. But the two brothers and the nephew son, seemed to be able to collaborate and cooperate without ego and desire, for power only unto themselves. In fact, they had open debates about diplomacy and disagreed with each other. They were a truly scholarly family. That was their true bent. And actually, the Shehu's daughter, Nana Asmau, began a literacy campaign among the women in the caliphate. Perhaps one of the earliest mass literacy campaigns in the world. Probably the first in Africa. I'm not sure about that, but we're talking about the first 2-3 decades of the 19th century. So it was very impressive. There was general stability. It basically was a confederation. The kingdoms, their emirates, ran their own affairs for the most part, but paid some taxes to the central government, and provided some troops for the common defense. But basically what happened was that it allowed greater economies of scale as the squabbling between the Hausa city-states ended, and they could basically act as one market, one economy. And I think that was quite beneficial. In fact, I did hear, I forget where, but there was a scholar from Northern Nigeria was saying that basically for the first 50 years of the caliphate, there weren't any famines, which for 19th century Africa or 19th century pretty much anywhere in the world, 50 years without famine is a remarkable achievement. It's really been only in the last 100 years and less that famine as a specter facing humanity has begun to recede. So, and like I said, they were very dedicated to scholarship. Now they did have some kingdoms that wanted to separate here and there, but as far as I understand, there weren't any real power struggles at the center. It was basically a seamless transition from one sultan to the next, all within the family of the Shehu and his descendants, as far as I understand. Now, in the 1890s, there was a conflict in Kano, which was destabilizing, and in 1903, Frederick Lugard, who was the British military officer who ran or was one of the leaders of what was to be the colony that Britain was constructing in what is now Nigeria. They developed the Southern Protectorate, and then they had set their designs on the Sokoto Caliphate because they wanted to expand their empire, but also because they were worried about what the French might do. So Frederick Lugard attacked the Caliphate. He murdered some of the smaller emirates, the emirs of some of the emirates, and they conquered the Caliphate. By this time, the Europeans had Maxim guns, which the Africans simply couldn't deal with. There were also internal weaknesses that made it a little easier for the British to actually conquer Sokoto. But basically what they did was they ended up incorporating 80% of it into the Northern Nigerian protectorate and allowed the Sultan to stay in his office ceremonially, but the Sultans have continued to have a great deal of influence in Northern Nigeria until this day. And basically the Sokoto Caliphate became one of the major seeds of what is now Nigeria. And Nigeria, with its more than 200 million people, is one of the largest polities in the history of the world. Of course, there's South Asia, many iterations of South Asia, China, the Soviet Union, Brazil, the United States, Indonesia, and then there's Nigeria. So having a state the size of Nigeria on the African continent, and particularly in West Africa, is very important. And despite the weaknesses of the modern Nigerian state, it has managed to survive. It has withstood civil wars, withstood dictatorship. We've had several elections now with relatively peaceful transfers of power. The fundamentalists who commit their atrocities in the Northeast have no chance of ever taking power in Nigeria, despite the traumas that they inflict on people. They are not a threat to ever take power. And Nigeria continues to play a leading role on the continent, and I believe will continue to play an ever more important role in the world. So Sokoto Caliphate is very important for all of those reasons, and so very important for all of us to know about. Also, we need to understand the legacy of governance that they left and what can be useful for our present times. So all of that needs to be studied very carefully. So in the name of the ancestors and the unborn who are the same, Ashe, 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 and we will see you next time.